are talking about the movie Battle of the Drones, also known as Battle Drone, also known as Hunted. This one is directed and co-written by Mitch Gould and can be best described as the Expendables meets the Terminator. And essentially it follows a group of mercenaries as they are led by Costas Mandylor to attempt to get some weapons, or at least that's what they're led to believe, out of Chernobyl, which is obviously a quite a dangerous place in its own right. And anyway, they go there with a group of kind of like CIA agents as well to apparently uncover some weapons. However, when they are there, they discover they've actually been set up, and they're actually there as test subjects to be the victims of these kind of like robotic Terminator-like drones as to kind of like combat-ready opponents to see how good these kind of drones are. And of course, it's a battle of wits and metal against these kind of like killer robots with Costas Mandylor's team, each of whom have kind of like a specialist sort of, kind of thing to do. You know, they have to try and fight these robotic menace. So what do we think of Battle of the Drones? Well, it's as cheesy as it sounds, but it's a hell of a lot of fun. So the parallels to the Expendable were really kind of quite apparent here. We have this kind of team of mercenaries, all of whom, like I've mentioned, have got some type of like speciality. That we have like a female sniper. We've got like a martial arts guy with kind of like blades rather than guns. We've got like a big Russian guy with like a heavy M60 machine gun, etc. We've got a kind of a small psychopath who reminds me of Topher Grace from the movie Predators. And on the other side, we've got Michael Paré, genre legend, as this kind of like weapons dealer who's kind of doing deals with the US government to try and kind of sell these kind of metal drones. In the middle of that, we have this kind of this team of CIA kind of agents who may or may not be on the side of the government. We have to watch the movie to find out. And they're led by Dominique Swain, who I've got to say I think is a little miscast here, and she doesn't look particularly comfortable in an action-heavy role. So let's get into a little bit more detail about Battle of the Drones. Let's go with the negatives first of all. Like I said, this movie is cheesy as all hell. The dialogue here is really kind of like pure, mature cheddar. It is so kind of cheesy and kind of groan-inducing at times. It is still kind of fun, I will say that, but trust me, don't be expecting any kind of like really kind of inspired writing here in regards to dialogue. It's all very much kind of cheesy, macho one-liners and stuff like that. They made an odd decision, I thought, in having these kind of things be CGI as well. The actual robots look kind of cool. The design looks kind of cool. They are humanoid and they're quite bulky, so there's no reason why you couldn't have a guy in a suit. They look like spindly kind of like skeletal things. So I don't really know why the decision was to have them kind of CGI, or at least in most of the shots they appear to be CGI, because it really is quite noticeable. It would have been much better to have maybe some actors kind of dressed in like a kind of a bodysuit for at least some of the shots, maybe the kind of the close-ups and stuff. But you know, I don't know. It's just an odd decision to me, because you wouldn't have thought it was needed to be CGI, to be quite honest with you. Also, the drones themselves, they have varying degrees of durability, it seems. They're a little bit inconsistent in regards to how tough they are and also how good they are. I mean, we see them running at high speed in some instances, but they'll be chasing people simply by walking in other scenes. So they're kind of really used as the plot needs them, and they're not consistent throughout the kind of the movie itself. In regards to kind of the directing style here, the director Mitch Gould has got a very kind of, he's obviously influenced by The Matrix, let's just say it. We see a lot of kind of like bullet time style kind of shots and a lot of slow-mo. And I've got to say, in certain circumstances, it looks pretty cool. But I've got to say, I think it's a little overused here. And we see nearly every kind of fight scene is kind of slowed down. And we have this kind of like this bullet time effect. And it looks cool once or twice, but we're doing every fight scene. I don't know, I think it's just that it comes a little tiresome at times and almost like a bit of a one-trick pony. But what does work with this movie is a hell of a lot of fun. For all its cheesiness and kind of maybe kind of like trite storytelling, it's a lot of fun. And what really makes it for me is I do like the team dynamic here. We have these very defined characters, and even though they're kind of like archetypes, nonetheless, you do get the impression of a great team dynamic. I mean, Costas Mandylor is the leader And I've got to be honest, he's probably the least interesting because he's the kind of the tough leader, the tough leader who is just an all-round badass. But all of his kind of men who get a reasonable amount of development, to be quite honest with you, aside from one with a shotgun who I always forgot about. But they all seem quite fun and kind of have a genuine group dynamic where they do seem like they are a team, and that I really liked. And what I liked about them as well is, even though this is clearly modelled off the Expendables, they do seem to care about each other as a team and work together as a team. So that was actually quite fun. I feel maybe the CIA characters were a little underwritten here, and like I said, I think Dominique Swain she kind of maybe is channeling the Claire Danes from Homeland. Maybe I think that's what she's going for, but I don't think she worked particularly well here. Michael Paré is great as this kind of businessman, arms dealer, who actually does have some good lines, and actually is quite a canny character himself. When he's outmatched, he plays a different tact, which I thought was quite good. They don't necessarily go for maybe what you'd expect with his character and how he would make dumb decisions. I think his character is actually quite clever and quite realistic in the way that he's clearly a businessman and he's thinking his way out of situations. Now we mentioned the kind of the fight scenes and they're negative, but I've got to say they do look fairly impressive and they are quite kind of unique. Well, I say they're unique, they're bullet time, so they're clearly not unique, but they are quite, you don't see too much of it these days. So it definitely does have a certain style to it. Like I said, I do think it's overused a little bit, but when you look at it as a separate fight, it does look kind of quite cool. And the stunts are pretty good. There's a lot of kind of gunfire here. A lot that I kind of quite like a lot of the stunt work. And the actual designs of the kind of the drones are all quite good. And it's an interesting sort of concept to have these. I mean, they're not exactly Terminators because they are piloted by a human person who's obviously doing it remotely. So they're kind of slightly different, but nonetheless, I actually thought the concept was quite good, and there are some kind of fun fights. These things do seem pretty well durable at times, less so in other times. And there you go. It's a fun movie. It's a cheesy B movie, but I feel if you like these kind of, it reminds me of the Robo-Copocalypse, whatever it was called, from a few years ago. Robo-Tropocalypse. We had the sequel of Dolph Lundgren, I've forgotten what it's called now. But anyway, if you like that sort of movie, cyborg cop, that kind of stuff, I think you'll probably get a kick out of this one. I feel it almost reminds me of the kind of the old school straight to video cyborg movies that came out after kind of RoboCop became sort of big and stuff like that. So if you like that sort of style of film, you'll definitely like this. But it is cheesy. Don't be expecting kind of an intelligently written movie with kind of that says deep levels of the kind of the human condition and stuff like that. No, it's a cheesy action movie, but it's fun. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment. I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.